Just when you guys think that Jamie Lynn couldn't get any worse, she does. Because as you know, she did an interview with Good Morning America, and I had no idea that there were two parts. So we learn additional information about Jamie Lynn and her relationship with Britney. So let's go ahead and just dive into it. So we're going to start off by listening to a story time that Jamie Lynn tells about Britney, where they got into an argument and it wasn't pretty.
Jamie Lynn says their relationship came to a head during the pandemic. She writes that Britney came at me screaming and getting up in my face while she was holding her toddler, Ivy, in her arms.
She cursed at me, and so I just walked out of the room. I was like, we're just all family under one roof. Like, I'm not trying to argue. And when I tried to remove myself from the situation, that's when I guess she just got really angry. And my oldest daughter tried to, mediate the situation. I hated that. Like, that's not what you're supposed to do. You're 12.
But rather than respect everyone's wishes, Jamie Lynn says her family was reverting to unhealthy patterns. Her parents' response?
They told me that I shouldn't be upset. Like, I can't upset Britney. I said, you just saw me and my children be upset. When will I matter?
Despite their complicated relationship, Jamie Lynn says while the world idolized her big sister, Britney, who's 10 years older, was like a second mother to her.
Okay, so obviously the fight isn't good news, but I would like to know a little bit more context there. Like, why was Britney upset? Why was she yelling? Why was your daughter in the place to even mediate a situation like this? And more importantly, why are you telling this now? Are you trying to make Britney seem like she's unstable? She's in such a vulnerable time in her life right now, getting out of this conservatorship, and spreading news like this, it's just going to make it harder for Britney. Jamie Lynn claims that Britney is like a mother figure to her.
So I feel like she was like I love her that much, and to have, it's just so innocent to love your siblings, and especially me, because I loved her like she was my mama,
So if Britney was like a mama to you, then why are you going and talking about her like this on the internet and trying to make her look worse? It makes me think about the fact that Britney brought up to the judge that her family goes on to TV and does interviews and really talks crap about her. And Britney can't do a thing because for the past 13 years, she's had to ask her dad for permission. And of course, he's not going to let her go out there and talk about the family, but the family can go and say whatever they want to about Britney. There's another story that Jamie Lynn brings up in this interview, and it's about Britney grabbing a knife and trying to, seclude them from everyone else, isolate them from everyone else because she was super paranoid. And it makes me wonder why Jamie Lynn isn't talking about her own knife situation, but we'll revisit that in a second.
In the book, you describe an incident where Britney takes a knife, says she's scared, and locks you and herself into a room. Why did you want to include that in the book?
Because first off, I think that experiencing my own panic attacks and how sometimes we can feel in those moments is important, but also it's important to remember that I was a kid in that moment. I was scared. That was an experience I had, but I also was fearful to really say anything because I didn't want to upset anybody, but I also was so upset that she didn't feel safe.
Words that you've used in the book to describe her behavior over your lifetime was erratic, paranoid, spiraling.
Why is Jamie Lynn going around and just talking crap about her sister? And again, why don't we revisit when Jamie Lynn was in a restaurant with a knife acting crazy? Like, if you're going to try to talk about Britney, why don't we go back to your own story? And I find it fascinating that that incident just didn't happen to make the book. It just wasn't important enough. So who's this book really about? Because it sounds like it's you just ranting on about Britney. I would like to hear about why you were at a restaurant and went behind the counter with a knife in such a crazy moment. Now let's talk about the awards show situation, because pretty much Jamie Lynn performed a tribute to her sister Britney, and she sang remixes of Britney's music on stage. And Britney actually had an issue with this. So let's listen to what they have to say, and then I'll explain my thoughts.
I don't like that my sister showed up at an awards show and performed performed my songs to remixes. My so-called support system hurt me deeply.
Honestly, it was somewhat confusing to me about that, and I actually have spoke to her about that. And I was doing a tribute to honor my sister and all the amazing things that she's done.
But you've cleared that up with her?
I have cleared up with the fact that I don't think she's personally upset with me about that.
It seemed like Jamie Lynn almost couldn't get the words out, but I actually understand why Britney was upset, because Britney hasn't been allowed to perform any remixes of her own music, yet her sister can go on stage and remix whatever she wants. And it just shows that Britney's team will let Jamie Lynn do whatever she wants with Britney's music, but won't let Britney do what she wants with the music. So I actually understand why Britney would be upset at Jamie Lynn, but there's also other people in that situation she should be upset with as well, because her team's not letting her remix her own music or perform whatever she wants. Yet Jamie Lynn can steal her sister's music and her spotlight and do whatever she'd like. Now they're going to talk a little bit about Jamie Spears, who you guys know was Britney's conservator and the man who controlled her for 13 years.
Do you agree with her assessment that your father was out of line?
Honestly, I just believe that if my sister wanted to be out of the conservatorship, then there should, that conversation should be had, and she should be able to facilitate that.
You guys may remember that a New York Times reporter actually pulled some court documents, I believe, from 2016 and showed that Britney was trying to get out of the conservatorship for years and years. So she was trying to have that conversation, but your father, Jamie Lynn, wasn't reciprocating and allowing her to have any freedom. Now let's talk a little bit about Mr. Jamie Spears and his drinking issues, because you guys know that he's an alcoholic, which is very concerning, because why are you controlling Britney's life when you can barely control yourself? But hear what they have to say.
While Dad Jamie was conservator, Jamie Lynn says father and daughter tried to stay sober together.
You describe the fact that your father in the conservatorship was taking sobriety tests alongside Britney as part of that.
I just probably selfishly looked at it as like, everybody's sober right now. Like, I don't have to be anxious for the first time, Like, there's actual people making sure everybody's on the right track, and I didn't have to worry what I was walking into.
How would you describe your relationship with him now?
It's a real time, real life. Like, it's messy, and I'm working through it. I have good days and bad days, and I think the relationship stands is that he's still my father, and I have to acknowledge that in a responsible way.
Well, Jamie Lynn, Britney's also your sister, and you need to acknowledge that as well. And I do want to recognize that Jamie Lynn's gone through her own trauma. I mean, I wish the book was a little bit more focused on Jamie Lynn than Britney Spears, because I'm sure Jamie Lynn has gone through some crap, and nobody can take that away from her. Of course, Jamie Lynn goes on and on and on about this teen pregnancy and the fact that she was locked up in this cabin, and her parents and her team just kept her away from her phone and everything. And it's interesting that she dramatizes this moment, because she's really trying to make it seem like she was like kind of almost under control, when in fact she was a minor. So it makes sense that your parents can really they can go and send you off to the cabin so you can go and rest and be pregnant. Like, that's not what Britney has gone through. That's not the same thing.
Jamie Lynn claims her family and management team sent her away to a remote cabin somewhere in the snowy Northeast to avoid the media. No phone, no contact with the outside world for weeks.
What was I going to do? I was a kid, and maybe this isn't my best interest, and maybe this is what I'm supposed to do, because of course I don't want to be, hounded by the paparazzi, but it felt like I was really being alienated.
Jamie Lynn also says that her family life had long been plagued by her father's past drinking. According to the New York Times, court papers show he attended rehab for alcoholism in 2004.
You wrote in the book, he spent most of my life in that cycle of ruinous behavior. His bouts of drinking always caused me periods of torment and sorrow.
It was created a lot of anxiety of the not knowing what I was going to get, and also feeling like I didn't have anybody there to to just cut it out until it could be consistent.
I actually do have sympathy for Britney and Jamie when it comes to Jamie Spears' drinking, because, I mean, no one should grow up in a home where your parents are an alcoholic. I mean, obviously it happens, that's life, but it's not easy. And I do recognize that Jamie Lynn has probably gone through struggles because of that. And of course, they talk about Maddie, Jamie Lynn's daughter, the one who she was pregnant with when she was 18. And there was an incident about 5 years ago where Maddie was driving an ATV. An ATV she's not supposed to drive. She was not old enough to drive it, and she flipped into the water. And of course, that's a huge moment for Jamie Lynn in her book, and she is milking this incident.
When a then 8-year-old Maddie, the baby she fought so hard to have, was in a horrific ATV accident.
Not even like by the pond, you know, and all of a sudden I just see her take this hard turn into like the back part of the pond. So the best that I can reason is she tried to get out in the safety netting, her head got caught in it. She was trapped.
The family frantically fought to rescue her, but she says Maddie remained underwater for more than 5 minutes.
What stays with you from that day?
When I thought that I'd lost her, I was so afraid that her last thought was, why didn't Mama save me? I just hope she knows that, like, I was doing everything I could if that was the last thing that she lived, you know?
First responders were on the scene within minutes. They freed Maddie and rushed her to the hospital, where she was put on a ventilator.
You describe your priest administering last rites.
It was horrible to see your baby like that.
She was not unresponsive.
I just wanted her spirit to hear somebody speak to it, you know, if that's all that was in there. And obviously her spirit was not ready to go.
Maddie made a miraculous recovery.
There was that moment where she opens her eyes and you register that she's there.
Honestly, like, it makes me, I'm actually getting emotional right now, because like, you can't just sit here and act like that's, like, that sounds so scary. Like when she said like her daughter's last thoughts, like that makes me want to cry, but like I probably would be crying even more right now if it wasn't for those shoulder pads. Like, what is going on with those shoulder pads? Why are they so big? But really sad story, Jamie Lynn. I'm so sorry that you went through that. I mean, Maddie's alive now, so I mean, at some point she's gonna have to move on from this, because it seems like any time that Jamie Lynn wants to, I don't know, wants to get the spotlight, she's like, the ATV. Well, Mama, you shouldn't have had your daughter driving that ATV because she wasn't supposed to be driving it, but who knows? You guys probably think that Jamie Lynn's not a good person, and honestly, I agree. But I do think that she, having her daughter as a teen, probably did make her a better person than she could have been. Like, I think she could have been worse, but I do think her daughter Maddie has brought out some good in Jamie Lynn.
Jamie Lynn says her daughter's brush with death forced her to re-examine her entire life, including her childhood traumas and the mental health struggles she had suppressed for years.
It really was like to the point where my panic attacks were all consuming, where I'm touching the doorknob 7 times. I've got to, you know, it was consuming my life to the point where it physically was taking over me. And I went and finally spoke to a therapist. At the time, I took medicine and got back to a place to where I felt stable.
So what were the overarching diagnoses?
Depression, anxiety, and OCD. It was weird how I would use my OCD almost trying to fix my depression. Like, I felt like if I did certain things certain number of times, it'd make it feel better. Or that would make something bad not happen. That was my thing.
It's quite clear throughout the book that you've come to a lot of self-discovery, a lot of painful realizations.
I think that when your worst fear happens, you get a lot less afraid of everything else. It made me reevaluate everything and who I was as a person and where I needed to be better.
I actually praise Jamie Lynn for talking about her OCD, depression, and anxiety. I mean, that takes a lot of balls to go on to national television and admit that you've had those issues before. I kind of wish this book was going to be coming out in 5 years in the future, and it had nothing to do with Britney. Because I do think that Jamie Lynn does have a story to tell, but I think right now she's exploiting the Free Britney movement by telling her story now and including bits about Britney that honestly make Britney look bad. I mean, we're in a place right now where we're not entirely sure what's going on with her freedom. At least I am. I know there are some things out there, whatever, we could debate all day, but I'm just I just want to make sure Britney is in the best place possible. And I don't think news reports about, Britney and Jamie Lynn being locked into a room with a knife, or the fact that Britney was cussing and yelling at Jamie Lynn with her baby in her arms. Like, that's just not going to make Britney look good. And if you're thinking about fixing your relationship with your sister, then why the hell would you go and talk about these things? I mean, I'm waiting for Britney to respond and honestly destroy you. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Honestly, I didn't think I was going to do a part 2 of this, but it actually worked out pretty well because I have a few. So I usually like to have like 10 videos done before they go out, and this has been able to help me like get some of my stockpile up. So cool. Anyways, I've got a P.O. Box package item from Crystal. Here's my email if you have any other video ideas for me. Let's go ahead and see what they sent me. And if you, I almost ripped the note. Good thing I didn't rip that. Okay, let's see what they sent. So, sample of my work. I love the Addams Family growing up. Oh my gosh, so cute. I wonder if that's you. Is that you, Crystal? I don't know. Or look, oh my god, that's so cool. I love that you included that picture. Like, add some personality to it. Dear Sloan, hi, my name is Crystal. I am a cosplayer artist. I wanted to say thank you. After finding your channel and hearing your honest opinion on serious matters that many do not take seriously, it helped me a lot. I used to blame myself for others' actions and behaviors. Oh, well, I'm glad that you don't do that anymore because it's not your responsibility. I feel 100 times better and I forgave those that hurt me. Good, but I won't allow anyone else to hurt me ever again, as you should. Don't let them do that. I wanted to send you these gifts as my way of saying thank you. Aw. There's not much, but I hope you enjoy them. Oh, well, thank you. And it looks like your name is you, but you go by Crystal as well. So I'm going to just say Crystal because I hopefully I'm saying that right. And oh, cute. You got like a little business here. It looks like it's called You Writer, cosplayer, YouTuber, and model. And it looks like you sent me some pins in here. We've got a cute little turtle keychain, which is so cute. I wonder if there's turtles in Florida because you guys know I just moved to Florida. Also, I'm looking tanner, right? Like, that's just the sun. So that's super cute. And then it looks like we've got 2 pins right here, and it looks like they are some type of like flower bow situation, I'm thinking, but they're really pretty. Thank you so much for sending these, and check out their socials below. I'll see you guys in a new video soon. Bye, guys.